All right, hey guys, thank you for joining me for Gumbo for the Soul Conversations with my father. My name is Charity Berry A. Muhammad, and I just met my father at 41 years old. Um, Up next, we have our episode. This episode is Secrets We Inherited, Truths We're Telling. Um, some families pass down recipes, others pass down silence, and for many of us, it's the silence that's the heaviest to carry. So, in this powerful episode, my dad and I also noticed that our relationship is growing. So, he graduated from being called my father to being called my dad. So, pay attention to that transition. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. This episode is all about stickers we inherited, truths we're telling. Thank you for tapping in, and see you guys in the episode. All right, peace, greetings, everyone. Welcome to Gumbo for the Soul. This is our new episode. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us again. We have my father here, Joe McGill Jr. You've been following us now. We don't really have to go into detail, but after 41 years, I finally figured out who he was, and he turned out to be a great guy. And this episode is all about secrets we inherited, truths we're telling. Some families pass down recipes, others pass down silence. And for many of us, it's the silence that's the heaviest to carry. So, this is Conversations with My Father. I'm Charity. That's my father up there, Joey McGill. And today, we're breaking open the truths our families couldn't hold and confronting the echoes of what was never said. This episode will draw directly from one of the most gripping threads in my father's book, his encounters with the descendants of enslavers. What happens when you sleep in a space of trauma and then share a meal with someone whose ancestors helped build that trauma? We'll explore the silence of slavery, the secrets of our lineage, and the truths we're finally ready to speak together. All right, so when you first met descendants of enslavers, did you expect them to be silent, apologetic, or resistant? And what surprised you the most?
Surprised me the most was that they reached out to me. Um, when I started sleeping in slave dwellings 15 years ago, I was working with one site, a site that eventually employed me, Magnolia Plantation and Gardens. But as soon as I started this thing, it seemed to have taken on a life of its own. And part of that life was being summoned by descendants of enslavers. There's a group called Coming to the Table. They wanted me to come and talk about this crazy thing that I was doing, sleeping in slave dwellings, because while they were focused on the people, the descendants of the enslavers, the descendants of enslaved, sometimes you can find all that in one person,
Hmm.
because a lot of what went on in that period of time, a lot of those mulatto children were not born of consensual relationships. So I was contacted by this group called Coming to the Table to come to one of their conferences in Richmond, Virginia. And I did. And I presented at one of their sessions. And I connected to so many people at that session that some of them became board members of the nonprofit Slave Dwelling Project.
Hmm.
And as we started developing the conversation more, as the sleepovers were still continuing, and we're concentrating now on conversations, people taking part in these conversations were on both sides of the issue, or sometimes the same side of the issue, as in we have descendants of the enslaved, descendants of enslavers. And let me say that again. Sometimes you can find both of those in one person, but we're all are now sitting around these campfires having conversations before we sleep in the cabin. And I in this moment, in this time, become caseworkers
Hmm.
for all of these descendants of these enslavers who want to confess to me um, what they have done to deal with all that, because that's some heavy stuff. So a lot of people find out that kind of information, they want to squelch it. They want to put it away. They don't want anybody else to know that they are descendants of enslavers. So they use me as that conduit to help tell the rest of the world who they are and how they're dealing with it.
Okay, so basically, they want their voice to be heard too. Basically,
Yes.
what surprised you the most was the fact that you were summoned.
Yeah. Someone as in they reached out to me. 15 years ago when I started this, it was me trying to convince these property owners about this crazy idea that I had to come and want to spend the night on their property. And uh, I had enough people believe in what I was telling them that I started making a list of the places that were receptive to the idea. But in this process of implementing this program, then things started to shift as they found out that I was not going away. Um, After 1 year, it was my intent to go away.
Hmm.
But because of the momentum, the reason for such a crazy idea, 15 years later, I'm still at it.
Okay, and let's remind everybody, just in case they haven't been following, what the crazy idea was.
Yeah, that crazy idea was to find slave dwellings wherever they are in South Carolina initially and spend nights in these spaces because also in South Carolina, where I was educated, when I graduated in 1979, I was taught that our enslaved ancestors were happy to be enslaved and the enslavers were benevolent people. Well, none of that was true. And I had to carry that lie with me until I became a park ranger at Fort Sumter National Monument, where the Civil War started. And then doing the research to be this park ranger that I was, I came across the information that countered what I had learned. Fast forward, I'm now working I was working at the time for the National Trust for Historic Preservation when the idea really came to fruition because I had to compensate for some lost hours, my hours being cut.
Mhm.
And that compensation was this idea of sleeping in slave dwellings and, doing what was necessary for it to now be my full-time profession.
So I read something in the book that I received in the mail, and you want to tell us the name of the book?
The name of the book is called Sleeping with the Ancestors, How I Followed the Footprints of Slavery, and is co-written by Herb Frazier.
All right, yes. So I read that you turned your passion. Well, how did you put that? You said what you just said about what you've been doing it now for the last 15 years. But I read you said you turned your passion into something.
My
Um,
my my avocation, my job, my
mhm,
my my honoring of the ancestors. Yeah, certainly a lot of passion. You don't get rich doing this, so it's certainly a lot of passion involved in an opportunity to tell our own stories because I don't want folks to remain a victim as I was victimized. I brought myself out of that. And I want to help people along to bring themselves out of that ignorance of what was taught to them, what is now incorporated into our history that we consume. We want to counter that watered down version of history that does not include the atrocities that we committed along the way. And enslaving people was one of those atrocities. However, We also want to let the public know about the agency of our enslaved ancestors because despite all that was imposed on them, these people were still human. They still were the ancestors of the two of us. Certainly the ancestors of the two of us, and we want people to know that these folks had a story also, a story far beyond, if you're my age, far beyond what Hollywood fed to us, what those history books fed to us. So this is that opportunity to do that.
Okay, I'm gonna quote you here. You said, "I have made my passion my job, and my job my passion. I get to sleep in places some people fear." That's what you said. End quote.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Some people still fear these places. Some fear them for the wrong reason. Some fear them so much that they want to incorporate them into ghost stories and ghost tours and things of this nature, something I disagree with. I think that our history can stand alone. You don't have to incorporate it into some zany show or anything of that nature. So we encourage folks to embrace these places. Don't be afraid of them because you think there's a ghost there. Now, spirits, I treat them differently. I think they're different from ghosts. And some folks want to come to one of the slave dwelling project events because they want to connect with the enslaved ancestors, with their spirits or anything of that nature. I don't object to that. Initially, folks wanted to do pour libation and things of this nature. I did not object. I still do not object to that. And if they want to do that, I'm okay with that. But if you're coming out there looking for a ghost, I don't want to associate. I don't want to associate with you.
Okay, so now, how did those moments? Well, I say the moments when you were talking to like when you do the talks around the fire and all that. Like, how did those moments compare to the silence you grew up with in your own family?
Well, for me, there was a family. I mean, a family unit, as in a mother and a father. Now, my father was somewhat absent in the sense that he was more into the bottle, much more so than he should have been. But he was, still a father nonetheless. So I did have that. I was much closer to my mom, and I had the two brothers and the three sisters. So I had all that. Uh, I also because I had all that, I guess I wanted to get away from all that because when I got the first opportunity to go live with grandmom and granddad, I jumped at it because that meant, independence. That meant my own bedroom. I didn't have to sleep with my two brothers in the same bed. Um, so I jumped at that opportunity. Now I may have meant not being able to hang out with my brothers and sisters, but I know where they were. All I had to say is if I called uncle, they would just take me home and be done with it. But I endured it all. I still had my cousin next door. I still had a community of folks that I could still hang out with. So in that sense, I was complete. So there.
Okay, that's also, an interesting perspective too, as far as you said that you chose to go and stay with your grandparents, right? And with my story is like a totally different story where I didn't have a choice. You know what I'm saying? Like I just ended up with my grandparents. Due to the circumstances, I ended up with them. So that's a parallel, I guess, in our childhoods. All right, so let's pause for a quick this or that, right? And
Yes.
we're just gonna say it this time. We're not gonna write it. Okay, so this or that, tell the whole truth or protect the peace.
Well, I I have a tendency to tell the whole truth. If you look at my social media, and I sometimes I get so good at it or bad at it. It depends on how you fall on what's on side of the issue I put out there. Now, I put stuff out there to provoke, to make people think, and that leads them to the truth, a truth that they might not like. Um, but so in that sense, it's tell the whole truth. But I'm telling that truth to keep the peace, and it'll keep the peace amongst those who are receptive to the truth. But there are so many out there that are not.
Mm.
And right now they're yelling the loudest. So that's the challenge.
Well, I would say, hmm, I would say, the me before, I'll say, 3 weeks ago, I would say protect the peace, would be what I would have chosen 3 weeks ago. But the me today would say tell the whole truth. Because, as part of me, starting on this journey and telling the whole truth, that's what made this whole thing happen here. That's how I was able to, connect with you, by telling the whole truth about, my childhood and my history, and that gave me the courage to, you know, go on the journey that we're going on now. So, um, yeah, that would be my answer. Before I would have said protect the peace, keep everything calm, quiet, don't ruffle any feathers. But now I'll say tell the whole truth and don't worry about who, or what doesn't like it. So yeah, that would be my answer today.
Yeah. Well, in telling that truth and using some of the terms that you use that I'm now more accustomed to, I know that once I acquire all of your books and read all of your books, I know that that's going to be a part of our conversation and on one of these episodes. I'm more prepared now for that truth. Um, but also what we are now doing, this coalition that we have formed, it seems like you take my truth and you enhance that.
Right.
And
That's it.
and it's part of my getting used to now. Um, Before I met you 3 weeks ago, I had very little confidence in AI. I had really nothing good to say about it. But I do know now that if used correctly, it can be a good thing. And you're helping me to get to that point. So that's a good truth telling tool.
There it is. And there it is. Truth. Yep. That's part of the truth that we're telling. All right. Now, do you think that silence can be a form of inheritance, something passed down like a habit or a wound?
Silence, I think silence is dangerous because if there's and I think our best example of that is the words of Martin Luther King, and I don't know them exactly. I'm sure I'm going to misquote them. I think he's alluded to the fact that part of the problem is doing nothing,
Mm-hmm.
in the face of injustice,
Mm-hmm.
or allowing it to persist through your silence. There are a lot of people out there with a digital platform, and some are just passive. They'll see things and never respond as they see a lot of things being, crumbling around them. I think that anybody with a social media outlet should have a digital footprint. And in that digital footprint, if someone were to look at that digital footprint 50 years from now, um, you're going to have to answer to that. If your child or your grandchild looks at your digital footprint and find you on the wrong side of history, you're going to have to explain that to them. If they look at the history of this nation and they see this thing about the huddled masses, give me your poor, you're hungry. You see this thing about we the people are, all men are created equal, then they're going to want to know, well, what did you do to help that along? Or if
or
they
hinder
also
it.
look at his,
Uh,
or if they also look at history and see that there were lynchings going on, or the black folks are being disproportionately in the jail system. Why is in the state of Iowa, the population of black folks is less than 2%, but the prison population is 25%. They're going to want to know the answers to all that. They're going to want to know, what did you do to help pursue happiness, or to form a more perfect union? If the answer is negative, they're going to have to answer to that. So
mhm.
there.
Yeah, you answered that. There's nothing else to be said about that. But yeah, you have inspired me too, to not be as passive as I was when it came to, what you're talking about, because my concern was more so in my profession though, because I was in that working in the education field. So but I had to remind myself that I work for myself. I don't work for any school system around here, and I don't work for any school system anywhere else. I work for myself because I homeschool. You see what I'm saying? So I don't have to worry about that, that part of my platform anymore. So I can tell my truth differently than I was doing it before. And I did have to worry about any type of scrutiny from like a like a superintendent or maybe even a parent of one of my students. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, that has actually, like I said, changed how I use my digital footprint too, because I've been on a quest to learn how to use my voice, and one of my hashtags was my voice will cover my boys, right? So I was focused on making sure that I can speak for myself, but in turn I'm speaking for them too, meaning my voice will cover them. So I'm gonna speak up about things so that way they won't have to suffer, you know, some of the same things, or they just won't have to suffer, because I'm gonna, be the voice that maybe they can't, I'm gonna be the voice for the voiceless basically. But yeah, I've been inspired a lot from our conversations and also from reading the book the last couple days. Like you said, as far as your digital footprint and what am I going to pass down to them? We're talking about silence, making sure I'm not silent when I need to use my voice. And then also the other side of that too, making sure that my voice is not overshadowing, anything that needs to be silent, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. So now, how has telling your story publicly impacted your private healing? So that means, because I've been posting everything on social media, how has that impacted your and my private healing? But you can go first.
Yeah. I think when I got that initial phone call and everything came rushing at me at once, and I didn't resist, but I still needed time.
Yeah.
I still needed time. I still do need time, because we're certainly still building this. But I think that the fact that I was doing what I was doing, um, trying to honor the enslaved ancestors in the manner that I was doing it, and still doing it to this day. I think this runs parallel. I think this is the rest of that story. Um, if I can honor them in their
This
absence,
means I agree.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to
If I
show
can
you
hon-
how to do that.
if
Yes.
if I can honor them in their absence, then I have to honor what's here now,
Yes.
in that same manner. So here we are.
Here it is. Yeah, it has impacted my healing because, like I said before, I was silent about a lot of injustices that I was suffering, and so I was just learning to use my voice, like you said. You've been using your voice for several years, and I'm just learning how to do that. You know, use my voice. So telling our story publicly has impacted me in a good way because everybody gets to see that part of my journey too. That because I had the courage, to start, my healing journey, it led me to you basically. And now you're here for the messy parts. So that's how it has
Yeah,
impacted my private healing. And I thank you too, though. I thank you for how you have approached everything, and that you are a good listener and you have been extremely supportive. So there's a compliment
yeah.
for you there.
And we got an invitation to go on stage and tell our story to a collected audience.
Yeah.
So we're still discussing the details of that,
Mm-hmm.
but we're about 90% to where we need to be into sealing that deal. Um, but I said that to say this. Um, we got a little overly ambitious when we saw the possibilities of what could be, you know, in a published author, myself, with published author in you, and I thought about what could be, but then we were cautioned to take it slow, let this thing develop, um, um, let it develop as it just developed organically, and as it does, we've taken notes because you and I notice what's collectible, what should be said in the moment, because we don't want to give it all away.
Exactly.
Um, because there's still some details they don't know. There's
Right.
still some juicy stuff in this story that we have that's well worth what is well worthy of a book. And
Yes.
it's in our future somewhere.
Yep. Like it was said, in our time, in our own way. I do also like to add to what you're saying though, the fact that like I said, you were using your voice, and you were doing it on the platform you were doing it on. Um, yeah, that was, pretty mind boggling, pretty mind boggling to me, to learn that about you. Uh, because then it also helps me to know that I got that in me, basically, if that makes sense. Like, I basically got that honest, basically using my voice. And now it's just a matter of, like we've been talking about, using it for good, basically. So it's like I've been doing it and just didn't even know it. Like, yeah, didn't even know
But
I
know
was doing
this, but know this, you're an instigator.
it.
You are. And I love that in you.
uh, Yep. Yeah, I have been told that, but I try to, like you said, like I try to use it for good though. I try to use my powers for good.
Hmm.
Try to
Yeah.
provoke people to do good things, when I'm provoking them. Yeah. hmm I
And
try
I'm
my
loving it.
okay, well thank you. That's a compliment. I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take that compliment.
I'm loving it. I'll send something your way, and then you'll do what you do, and boom, there it is.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that too. We have that in common, I think. Um,
Well,
yeah, I like that.
I'm
I think that's
I,
pretty cool.
I'm willing to bet anybody who's been following me up to this point will notice the point you entered my life. If they do a research, an inventory of my social media, um, yeah, it's noticeable.
Well,
So
I would say the same. I would say the same. I think that well, just out yeah, they can tell because just based on what I was talking about 3 weeks ago versus what I'm talking about now, yeah, they're gonna be able to tell it too. hmm Yeah, they'll be able to tell, but
yeah,
that's a good thing though. Yeah, that's a
it
good thing.
is. They're coming along. They're coming along for this public healing.
hmm
So yeah, so we heal out loud. So um, that's not, as I said, you know, I'm not afraid of the unknown, and this is the unknown. I'm not afraid of it. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm not afraid of it.
Right.
So there.
I think we have that in common too. I'm more like I'm like this. when it comes to certain things. But other things, I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go, let's see what's up, like what's happening, what's going on. Okay, so let's do a quick this or that.
Uh-huh.
This or that, carry the burden alone or share the load together.
Share the load together because it goes back to the social media thing. You know, I know that historically there's some guilt that needs to be unpacked. There's some guilt that we've been ignoring for far too long. And we've been ignoring it for far too long because they were either a pack of lies or people were telling it in a manner that's more palatable and more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to pull that off. You got to get out of that way of thinking if you want to deal with those atrocities, because if you don't deal with them, they're just going to fester and fester and fester and only get worse. But if you're dealing with this, even if it's around a campfire, talking to whoever's in earshot or listening, then you're doing something. Even if it's your social media page, doing memes or talking about a subject that's pertinent, or even if you're connecting dots from that period in history to what's going on today and helping people to realize that there's similarities. These things like this have happened before, have happened in the past, and we should just be aware that, well, this happened and then this happened. So we need to be able to help connect those dots, put people, pull that from the past and insert it into what's going on now. And we have that ability to do that. So therefore, I think everybody should share this burden.
Right. And I'll
Or
say,
in the same note, in the same token, rewards.
yeah, okay, I'll say share the load together, but I'll take it on a personal level, far as what we're doing. Because I told you I'm used to talking to myself and my audience. And now we're doing this together. So share the load together. So like on a personal note, to go from, like I said, all I really have is my brother, to now I don't just have my brother now. Like it's like I have like new family now. So uh share the load together is what I would choose.
Hmm.
Mhm. All right.
Great.
So if we both had to name one family truth, I figured we would talk about a family truth, not a family secret. So if we both had to name one family truth we're still learning how to hold, what would it be? One family truth that we're still learning how to hold.
Hmm. I'll let you go first.
Well, I was gonna let you go first. I was gonna let you go. Look, I wrote the questions, but I still was like, I'm gonna let him go first.
So ask again.
Okay, so we're talking about secrets we inherited or truths that we're telling, right? So one truth that we're telling is the fact that the DNA said you are the father, right? That's a
Uh-huh.
truth. That's a truth that we're telling, right? So
Yeah.
if we both had to name one family truth that we're still learning how to hold, what would it be?
Huh. That's
Well, you want me to go first? I'll go first.
yeah,
Okay,
please.
so one family truth that I'm still learning how to hold is how I was conceived and who I was conceived by. That is one family truth that I'm still learning how to hold, because I had no clue who you were for like 41 years. So that is a family truth that I'm still learning how to hold. I figured that would be like, that's my obvious answer, is that because I'm still learning how to navigate, our relationship, to go from, you know, I was raised by, my grandparents, didn't really
Hmm.
have, I really didn't have a father, you know what I'm saying? That's all I can say without saying too much. I really didn't have one of those. And it's like, now I got one of those. So it's like, what do I do with it? Like, do I play? Like, what do I do with it? Do I poke it? Like, what do I do with it? So that's one family truth I'm still learning how to hold, is that that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
But
Well,
let me add. It's a good thing though. It's a good thing and it's a good truth. Because you're a good guy. You see what I'm saying? So this is not the outcome that I expected. So this is a great outcome and better than what I expected. Whenever I went looking, it's better than what I expected. So that's why I say I'm still learning how to hold it, and learning how to deal with all the emotions that come with all of that too. I didn't have one,
yeah,
now I got one. So just like you, overnight everything changed for you. Even though I started this, everything changed overnight for me too. So yeah, that's my answer.
yeah. Well, to know that from 3 weeks ago to now is different. My life is different. Um, there's more to think about. There's more responsibility, and I'm sure I'll understand those responsibilities more as we progress. Um, but that truth is, you are who you are. I am who I am. Um, and I always go back to that default. You can't argue with the DNA. That's there. That's that science that I certainly believe in, and I think most people should. But I think another part of the truth is um, being able to say it out loud, and we have done that. Um, and the consequences of that, I guess consequences sound like a bad word, but consequences could be good also.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think are good, are the benefits of that. Is good, has been good so far. I anticipated that it continued to be that because it shows great potential. As I stated earlier, we're already being wooed to tell our story to an organized audience. This social media platform, this thing that we're doing right now, is part of that truth that we're sharing with everyone in hopes that others can follow this example. I saw a piece uh, earlier today about DNA and how some happy endings have happened, but I didn't see any black faces there. That bothered me. Um, because it's playing into that stereotype of deadbeat dads and um that phase in my lifetime where it was more beneficial for the mom to kick dad out of the house just to stay on the benefits that would you know to come our way.
But that's not our
So
story.
that's not our
uh,
story. So I'm hoping that this truth, our truth, can help others come to the same conclusion.
yeah, yeah, I totally agree. Secrets don't just sit in silence; they shape us. But the truth, spoken, owned, and honored, can liberate generations. I feel like that's what you've been doing for like the past 15 years. Trying to. Well, I say not just trying to. You have been liberating generations. I am honored too, to be a part of all of that. Whether it was even not even knowing, that I was a part of all that. But today's conversation wasn't just about history; it was about legacy, reclaimed through truth. So be on the lookout for our new book. We are co-authors on this one, but I want to also say that this book right here, this book right here, is going to be the topic of several episodes because it is pretty deep. And I feel like the weight, just like the weight of just like holding this in my hand and like actually being able to read it and being able to comprehend it and being able to know that that came from between your two ears. That means a lot too. To be able to like hold it in my hand and like yeah, that to know where it came from. That means a lot to me too. So anything else you want to add?
Yeah, as I said it earlier, your writing ability is better than mine. You say things better. You say things, you're nice. You bring them in with honey. I'm more of the vinegar type, kind of going with gunslinging. Um, and I think that combining these two things is going to be a great thing. I'm already seeing the benefits of it all. I just gotta, you know, govern myself and not try to put it all on you, because I'm already pitching these ideas to you, and you are likewise. And I think we need to be able to govern this thing so that we don't burn out too soon. I don't think
I
that's going to
think
be the case.
we're doing good though because I just say just I'm just gonna say this because this is what I'm thinking right now. For because I'm 41, right? So for like the last at least 30 something years, I've always had to like rein in everything, like rein in it, my thoughts, my language, my everything. Just had to rein it in because it was pretty much like too much for a lot of people to handle. Either I'm going too fast or I'm taking people too fast. They don't understand what I'm saying, words too big, have to break things down, like you said, water it down. Uh, but I feel like now it's almost like I can just say stuff and I can express myself and I can just share like all my ideas and I don't feel like they're gonna be squashed or told they're too much or be told to slow down or anything like that. I feel like it's a good balance because if your brain runs at half the speed that my brain has been running on all these years. And I've been told to like slow down, calm down, don't do that. You're doing too much. Like I told you earlier, I think yesterday I was doing like I multitask all the time, So multitasking is like what I do, but I've been told no, you need to slow down, don't do that. So I don't think we're gonna burn out. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good trait and characteristic to have. But I do understand what you're saying about the governing thing. But I think that we will be able to govern each other, is what I think, because I'm not going to think that your idea is too much. And I don't think you'll think my idea is too much. But like you said, I have strengths and you have strengths, and I feel like the strengths will balance everything out. That's what I think. Because you've been doing this for like over 15 years. You see what I'm saying? And I've been
Yeah.
doing what I've been doing for however long I've been doing it. But I feel like it's gonna balance out. That's what I think.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And you said all that to say you're an instigator like me.
But I think it's a good thing.
It is.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing because, and then that also means that you understand my sense of humor because a lot of people don't understand my sense of humor, and they think a lot of times when I'm joking, they think I'm being serious, and I'm just like, no, I was joking. They're like, oh, well, I'm like, no, but I think you so far you've understood it because also too that has a lot to do with the language barrier, as far as like the because you said you majored in English, right? So it's
Yes.
like you have an extensive vocabulary. I have an extensive vocabulary too, but everybody doesn't have an extensive vocabulary. So sometimes they get offended by some of the things that you say, but it's only because it's the comprehension. You know what I'm saying? So
I know.
yeah, it's like, but it's like I can use whatever word I want to use with you, and you'll understand what I'm talking about, and vice versa. And I'm like, yeah, say more, like tell me more, pretty much. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you that I don't think it's gonna burn out. I think that it's just gonna keep, like Energizer Bunny is what I think. Yeah, because
Yeah, I like that spirit.
I keep going and going and going and going pretty much, and it seemed like you do too. So I think it's gonna be okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I have a
Beautiful.
good feeling.
Beautiful. Because look out world.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So be on the lookout for our new book. We are going to be co-authors, like we said. We're going to take our time though. We're not going to rush it. We're going to do it right. And anything else?
I think that's it for now. Oh, yeah. I'll be coming to Louisiana in September.
Okay.
almost said next month. I'll be coming to Louisiana in September. Woodburn, two sisters, twin black women,
Okay.
acquired Woodburn plantation, and they're using it for educational purposes. So we anticipate meeting physically for the first time. So I'm looking forward to that,
Yeah.
to meeting Charity and my grandson. So
Yep.
of course, we'll post about that, and we'll
Yes.
film as
Of
much as
course.
we can,
Hmm.
and Charity will do her magic
I'm gonna make
on
some. I want to
whatever
make
we,
some TikToks.
yeah. So you guys can stay tuned for that. Oh, um, I thought it was going to be a public event, but as of today, it's not. So we're going to be doing a lot of digital filming
Virtual. Okay.
for your consumption. We'll do some lives, but most of what we do there will be broadcast after that event that we do in September. But we'll document it the way that we document. I'll do my thing. Charity will do her thing. We'll do the combined thing, which I think will be best.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, and then, oh, so now since you said you have grandsons, yeah, my 4-year old said, "Oh yeah, we get to see Gwen Paul." All right, again. Well, until next time, this has been Gumbo for the Soul Conversations with my father. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks for joining us.
Peace.
All right, thank you guys for tuning in. I feel like that was an extremely powerful episode. We talked about a lot of heavy stuff. The conversation got real deep. I was really happy to be able to talk about the book that my dad has written. I mean, it is a great book. The book is called Sleeping with the Ancestors: How I Followed the Footprints of Slavery. And that book is available on his website. I will put the website in the description. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you for walking on this journey with us. As always, please drop a blue heart in the comments if you're walking on this journey with us. And also, if you have any questions or anything that you want us to talk about in the next episode, you can drop that in the comments as well. Um, you guys have the day you deserve. Peace out.